In episode 1 of House of Cards, we experience many things that go on to be factors in later episodes. In the first scene of episode 1, we see Frank kneeling down to tend to a hurt dog. We can tell that he's a very controlling person, but at the same time, when he puts the dog down, we see that he has a nasty side to him. When Frank gets the news that he was not elected for Secretary of State, we get the first glimpse of the man he is. He says it's a chicken shit move and is very mad. In the next scene, we see that Frank has a master plan that he quotes one bite at a time, taking down Kern first, then the president-elect. In this picture, when Frank and Claire are in the car together, you can tell that they are one. Claire says to Frank, "You need a haircut." This shows that Claire controls Frank in many different ways, as we experience in many later episodes. Later in the episode, when Frank comes home late, Claire immediately confronts him. She says, "You didn't call me, Francis." Then he immediately apologizes. This shows that Claire clearly has power over Frank. We see many more instances later on of this. Later in episode 1, when Claire and Frank are in the window together and smoking a cigarette, this emphasizes that they are one. Many times in the show, over the course of many different episodes, they come back to the same exact scene, and it symbolizes that they are one and they truly do love each other. When we are first introduced to Zoe, we see that she is not an important character in the show. But as she's talking to her boss, you get a sense that she has a tone to her and that she is an ambitious worker. Maybe she could be a key factor into the show. In the next picture, we clearly see that Zoe has come up again in the show and is clearly an issue. When Frank is caught staring at her butt, and then she uses it to blackmail Frank, and becomes an evident character in this show. Later on in the episode, when Frank goes to get his ribs, he reads the daily news and sees that Zoe has her first big hit when she wrote about the president-elect, and nobody saw it coming. Frank says it's like Christmas in July. He knows that there is more good stuff to come from Zoe. When we are first introduced to Peter Russo, we see that he has a person in his office that he does not want to meet with. He then gets a fake call from his secretary, pretending to be the president-elect. This shows that Peter does not face his issues face to face and would rather get an easy way out. This comes into factor as Peter is a crucial character in later episodes. In episode 1 of House of Cards, we see many factors that play into later episodes. Even in the first scene, we see what kind of guy Frank is and how much power he has. Then we see how Claire controls him and that Frank does whatever she wants. Later on in the episode, we are introduced to Zoe and what kind of character she is. Then we get a glimpse of how she's going to impact the show. And then we see what kind of guy Peter Russo is, and maybe it foreshadows that he's going to be a big character in the future. Overall, episode 1 is a huge factor into understanding the show, and it foreshadows many scenes that happen in the future.